Paperback Writer from the Beatles. Probably one of the more straightforward Beatles tunes. There's only two chords in it, G and C, but it's got a killer guitar riff that sets up the foundation for the song, and it's a great performance on the bass from Paul McCartney, which we'll take a look at today. And one of the things, so I remember back in like the early or mid 90s or something, I was reading an interview with Paul McCartney, and he was saying how he had recently taken his Hofner bass to Mandolin Brothers in Staten Island. They're a world famous instrument repair shop, and he said he was really happy with the work they did on it because, to quote him, it finally played in tune. And I found that to be an odd comment. Like, I didn't really understand what he meant at the time. Fast forward some years later, and when you really get into some of the Beatles bass lines, there are tuning issues at times. Now, I don't know if he actually played the Hofner on this particular tune, or maybe it was his Rickenbacker. Either way, there is an issue with the tuning on the bass track. And I discussed this in another video, but I'll tell you the story. So the way I found that out was when I was playing along to the track, and I always make sure that the track is louder than I am. I want the track to be around here. I want to be around there. I want to hear myself, but I don't want to be overpowering the actual music. And so it didn't sound right. Didn't feel right. I mean, it just something, the tuning was clearly out. But yet, when I tried to tune maybe just slightly sharp, maybe slightly flat, and so on, still wasn't right. And so I started to think about that quote from Paul when he said, well, now it finally plays in tune. So I'm thinking, well, okay, maybe when they recorded this tune, whatever bass it was he used, had some intonation issues. And when an instrument has intonation issues, it's not a direct result across all four strings. Not all four strings are going to be equally out of tune. That's the problem, is that because if it was that way, you could just adjust to it by just tuning slightly sharper or flatter or whatever. But no, when your intonation's out, this string might be slightly flat, this one might be slightly sharp, this one might be right on, this one might be way flat, or whatever. It could be any kind of things like that. So fast forward some years later, and I discovered the isolated bass track of Paperback Writer on YouTube. I said, all right, let's check this out now. And so I started to, I slowed the tempo down and so on and so forth, started to play along with it and everything. And I discovered that what the tuning issues were this. The G string was 10 cents flat. The D string was 20 cents flat. The A string 30 cents flat. And the E string is 70 cents flat. Now that's a wide dispersity there from high to low, right? And so I got out my tuner and I started tuning right to those pitches like that. And sure enough, it matched the track. Okay. Now, when I did that, I'm not going to do that today because it's sort of a real maddening type of exercise to do. I can't believe I even did it that one time. But it really screws with your ear because, I'm used to playing an A440, right? Only very rarely do I tune slightly higher or sharp to accommodate playing with a song. And even then, it's always uniform, right? It's never like this big dispersity of intonation. But so on this tune, and when I did that, it really felt weird. sounded weird, and I didn't like it at all. But it did answer my question about what's going on with the bass on Paperback Writer. And, there are other tunes from other bands, too, that this type of thing, does happen, unfortunately. Maybe not so much these days where everything is calibrated, tuned, auto-tuned, quantized, to perfection in the studio. But this was reality back in the day, okay? So what we'll do is we'll take a look at the notes that Paul's playing on tune to A440. Okay, so I'll just play through the first part of the line. It starts out with this cool little fill up on the 12th fret G. 1, 2. Two, three, four. Okay, let's take a look at the guitar part. All right, so Paul's guitar riff is pretty straightforward, but it's a really cool vibe to it. And we're centered around a G. And it's kind of a G power chord, right? G, D, G. But he does some interesting things with hammer-ons. He starts on the G, plays a C, and hammers on to the D. And then plays the octave G, D to F. So hammer on C to D to F. Simple, but to get the phrasing just right, is a big part of how to play the song correctly. And then after that, it's just a straightforward sort of 50s Chuck Berry type of. So you got the power chord G, and then the sixth in the top voice. Just move across to a fourth to C. That's it. That's the whole tune. And so the vocal harmonies and all that add a lot of depth to the arrangement as well. So, such a simple little idea, but they made a really cool tune out of it. And I love the groove on it, and I love the tempo for it. It's pretty quick tempo driving, rock tune, which was, for that kind of style, I think a little unusual for the Beatles, at the time. So, I enjoy it. I think it's a great tune. Well, I hope you enjoyed today's breakdown. If you did, please consider subscribing to my channel for more videos like this to come. And thank you for watching.